Billionaire's daughter ran, crying to bikers, "They're beating my dad." The revenge was brutal. Before we dive into this story, let me ask you something. Have you ever judged someone by their appearance, only to discover you were completely wrong? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will challenge everything you think you know about heroes. And don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow I have a surprise waiting for you. Dante, you gonna eat those eggs or just stare at them all morning? Axel's voice cut through the morning chatter at Benson's Roadhouse. The smell of bacon and coffee filled the air as 10 leather-clad men occupied 3 booths near the window. Dante Cross looked up from his plate, a half-smile crossing his weathered face. At 45, his dark eyes still carried the intensity of his 20 years in the Marines. The Iron Guardian's patch on his vest caught the morning light streaming through the windows. "Just thinking about the fundraiser next month," Dante replied, pushing his eggs around. "We need to raise $5,000 for the veterans' shelter." "We'll get there," Reaper said from across the table, his graying beard catching crumbs from his toast. "We always do," Tank laughed, his massive frame shaking the booth. "Remember last year? That little kid donated his piggy bank, $73 in pennies." The table erupted in warm laughter. These Saturday morning breakfasts had been their tradition for 12 years. Jolene, the owner, knew their orders by heart and never judged the rough-looking men who always tipped generously and never caused trouble. Chains was mid-sentence about spark plugs when the front door exploded open. A little girl stood in the doorway, bare feet bleeding, dress torn, eyes wild with terror. "Please," she screamed, "they're killing my daddy." The diner went silent. Every fork stopped mid-air. Every conversation died. But not the Iron Guardians. 10 chairs scraped back in unison. Years of military training kicked in instantly. While other customers sat frozen, staring, the bikers moved. Dante reached the girl first. She collapsed into his arms, her small body shaking violently. Blood from her feet left marks on the tile floor. "3 men," she gasped between sobs. "Big men." They tied him up. They're hitting him with something metal. There's so much blood. Her name was Emma Thornfield, 8 years old. She'd run 5 miles through the woods behind her house, feet torn by rocks and thorns, to find help. "Where's your house?" Dante asked, his voice calm despite the rage building in his chest. "Thornfield Estate, the big white one off Highway 40. Axel already had his phone out, dialing 911. Reaper grabbed the medical kit they kept in Tank's saddlebag. The others headed for their bikes. "We're going to bring your daddy back," Dante told Emma, looking directly into her terrified eyes. "I promise you." Jolene rushed over with towels for Emma's feet. "I'll stay with her until the ambulance comes." 10 Harley engines roared to life outside. Emma watched through the window as they disappeared down the highway. She'd chosen the right heroes. The Iron Guardians covered 5 miles in 4 minutes. The Thornfield estate sprawled across 20 acres. The main gate stood wide open. No security guards anywhere. "That's wrong!" Maverick shouted over the engine noise. "Place like this should have armed security." They roared up the circular driveway. The mansion loomed before them, all white columns and massive windows. Worth 15 million, easy. Dante killed his engine and listened. Voices. Angry voices coming from the east wing. He signaled the others. They spread out, surrounding the house. Knox and Viper covered the back exits. The rest followed Dante toward the sound. Through a window, Dante saw him. A man in his 50s, bloodied and tied to a chair. 3 large men stood around him. One held a metal pipe. "Last chance, Thornfield," the man with the pipe snarled. "Give us the bank codes or we go find your little girl." Harrison Thornfield's face was a mess of bruises and blood, but his voice stayed firm. "Never." The man raised the pipe high. Dante kicked the door off its hinges. Everything happened in 45 seconds. Tank hit the leader like a freight train, sending him crashing through an antique desk. The metal pipe clattered across the marble floor. The second attacker pulled a knife. Chains caught his wrist, twisted, and the blade fell. Wrench's elbow connected with the man's jaw. He dropped. The third tried to run. Reaper stepped into his path. One punch. Done. All three attackers lay unconscious before Harrison could even process what happened. Dante cut the ropes binding Harrison to the chair. "Your daughter sent us. Emma." Harrison's voice cracked. "Is she safe?" "She's at Benson's. Ambulance is with her now." Dante helped him stand. "What happened to your security team?" "Gone. All 8 of them." Harrison winced, holding his ribs. "They disappeared this morning. Someone paid them off." Reaper examined Harrison's injuries. "Broken ribs, possible concussion. You need a hospital." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. The leader on the floor stirred, laughing through broken teeth. "You think this is over, Thornfield? This is bigger than you can imagine. Bigger than all of you." Dante stepped between them, his voice ice cold. "He's not doing anything." Outside, police cars flooded the driveway. Sheriff Tom Hutchins stepped through the broken doorway, hand on his weapon. His eyes swept the room, taking in the 3 unconscious men, the bloodied Harrison Thornfield, and the 10 bikers standing calm and ready. "Dante Cross," the sheriff said, relaxing slightly. "Should have known." "Sheriff," Dante nodded. "We got a call from a little girl saying her father was being murdered. We responded." Hutchins had known the Iron Guardians for 6 years. Never a single complaint. Always helping with community events. He'd personally seen Reaper pull 2 teenagers from a burning car last year. "Mr. Thornfield, do you want to press charges against these men?" Hutchins gestured to the bikers. Harrison looked at the sheriff like he'd lost his mind. "Press charges? They saved my life. Those 3 were going to kill me." Paramedics rushed in with a stretcher. Harrison waved them off. "Take me to my daughter first, Memorial Hospital now." As they loaded him into the ambulance, one of the attackers regained consciousness. His eyes locked on Harrison with pure hatred. "This doesn't end here, Thornfield." He spat blood on the marble floor. "This is way bigger than you imagine. You're already dead." Dante stepped forward, blocking the man's view of Harrison. "Wrong," he said quietly. "He's not doing anything. Not while we're here." The attacker laughed. "You don't even know what you walked into, biker trash." 2 deputies hauled him away. Hutchins pulled Dante aside. "What's really going on here?" "That's what we're about to find out." The VIP wing of Memorial Hospital felt sterile and cold. Harrison sat in bed, ribs wrapped, face stitched and bandaged. Emma hadn't left his side, curled up in the chair next to him, holding his hand. Dante and Axel stood by the window while doctors finished their examination. 72 hours observation, Dr. Matthews said. "The concussion is serious, Mr. Thornfield. You're lucky to be alive." After the doctor left, Harrison finally spoke, his voice low and strained. "My security team, 8 men, all former special forces. I paid them extremely well." He closed his eyes. "This morning, every single one vanished. No calls, no warnings. Someone got to them." "Someone on the inside," Axel said. Harrison nodded slowly. "Only 2 people had access to my complete security schedule and protocols. Gerald Vance, my CFO of 10 years, and Vanessa Sterling, my executive assistant for 15 years. Emma stirred. "I like Vanessa. She brings me cookies." Harrison's jaw tightened. "I trusted them both completely." A nurse entered to check vitals. She glanced at the chart, then froze. "Mr. Thornfield, I'm sorry, but I thought you should know. The police just identified a body found 3 days ago in an abandoned warehouse downtown." She paused, uncomfortable. "It was Marcus Reed, your head of security." The room went silent. Harrison's face drained of color. "Marcus, but he called me 4 days ago, said everything was fine." "Sir," the nurse continued softly, "the coroner estimates he'd been dead for at least a week when they found him." The Iron Guardians clubhouse sat 20 miles outside town, a converted warehouse surrounded by bikes and American flags. By evening, 23 members had arrived for the emergency meeting. Dante stood at the front, arms crossed. "Here's what we know. Harrison Thornfield was targeted in a professional hit. His entire security team was compromised. His head of security was murdered a week ago. Somebody planned this carefully." Viper spoke up from the back. Why are we getting involved? Dude's a billionaire. He can hire private security. Because an 8-year-old girl ran barefoot through 5 miles of woods and asked us for help. Dante's voice cut sharp. She didn't run to the police station 2 miles from her house. She ran to us. You want to tell her we don't care? Silence. Axel stood. That kid trusted us when she was more scared than she'd ever been in her life. We can't betray that. Tank added. She chose us as her heroes. What kind of men would we be if we walked away now? Bones raised his hand. The kid drew me a picture today at the hospital. Said I looked like Captain America. His voice cracked slightly. Nobody's ever looked at me like that. Dante called for a vote. All in favor of providing protection for the Thornfield family until this threat is eliminated. 23 hands went up. Not a single hesitation. By Monday morning, the story had exploded across every news channel in America. Someone at the diner had recorded Emma bursting through the door. The video showed her bloody feet, torn dress, and desperate plea. Then 10 bikers rising as one and racing toward their motorcycles. 20 million views in 18 hours. Harrison's PR team advised him to avoid interviews. He ignored them. Good Morning America aired first. Harrison sat in his hospital bed, Emma beside him, as the host asked the obvious question. Mr. Thornfield, you're worth $3 billion. Why did 10 motorcycle club members risk their lives for you? Harrison looked directly at the camera. They didn't do it for me. They did it for my daughter. And that's the difference between good people and everyone else. The clip went viral immediately. The Iron Guardians trended worldwide. But Wednesday brought something else. FBI agent Sandra Morrison arrived at the hospital with Sheriff Hutchins. Her expression was grim. Mr. Thornfield, we've traced the payments to the mercenaries who attacked you. The money came from a shell account in the Cayman Islands. She paused, letting the weight settle. The account belongs to Gerald Vance, your CFO. Harrison's face went white. Gerald? That's impossible. He's been with me for 10 years. We arrested him 2 hours ago at the airport. He was trying to flee to Brazil. Morrison pulled out her tablet. He's confessed to everything. The plan was to kill you and stage it as a home invasion. He would have taken control of your company through a clause in your partnership agreement. Emma's small voice broke the silence. What about me? Morrison knelt down to Emma's level. You weren't supposed to be home that day, sweetheart. Your father's schedule showed you'd be at your grandmother's. When you escaped and got help, you ruined everything. Security protocols went into effect immediately. The Iron Guardians worked in 6-hour shifts. Tank and Bones took mornings. Dante and Reaper handled afternoons. Chains and Wrench covered nights. Advanced cameras covered every inch of the property. Emma wore a panic button disguised as a butterfly necklace. Harrison was uncomfortable at first. These men in his home, their motorcycles in his driveway, their rough voices echoing through marble halls. But then he started watching. Tank taught Emma chess on the library floor, his huge hands moving pieces with surprising gentleness. Queen protects the king, just like you protected your daddy. Bones helped with her math homework, explaining fractions using pizza slices. If I eat 3 out of 8 slices, what's left for you? Emma started drawing. Not just drawings, but portraits. Each Iron Guardian as a superhero. Tank with a shield. Reaper with angel wings. Dante with a cape made of stars. She taped them on the clubhouse wall. One afternoon, Harrison found Emma and Maverick in the garden. She was teaching him about flowers while he showed her how to change a spark plug. Your daughter laughs now, Dante said, appearing beside Harrison. Really laughs, did you notice? Harrison had noticed. For the first time since her mother died 3 years ago, Emma seemed like a child again. I judged you all, Harrison admitted quietly. Saw the leather, the tattoos, the motorcycles, made assumptions. Most people do. I was wrong. Dante smiled slightly. Most people are. That night, Harrison couldn't sleep. He walked downstairs and found Chains and Wrench doing their patrol, professional and alert. These men were protecting his daughter better than his expensive security team ever had, and they were doing it because Emma had asked them to. 3 weeks after the attack, Harrison felt safe enough to return to work. Emma was back in school, escorted by rotating pairs of bikers who waited in the parking lot. Life was finding a rhythm. Then Sheriff Hutchins called. "Harrison, you need to come to my office, now." Gerald Vance was dead. They found him in his cell that morning. Initially ruled a suicide, but the autopsy told a different story. Strangulation marks inconsistent with hanging. Someone had murdered him and staged it. "There's more," Hutchins said, sliding an envelope across his desk. "This arrived at the courthouse this morning, addressed to you." Harrison opened it with shaking hands. The message was typed, untraceable. "Vance was just a piece. The organization is bigger, much bigger. You're still a target, Thornfield, so is your daughter." FBI agent Morrison entered the room, her face tight with urgency. "We've been interrogating the 3 mercenaries from your house. They finally talked." She pulled out a file folder, spreading photos across the desk. Gerald Vance wasn't the mastermind. He was just the inside man. She pointed to one photo. "This woman is Vanessa Sterling, Harrison's assistant, 15 years of loyalty. Always efficient, always kind to Emma. Vanessa has been working for an international crime syndicate for 2 decades. She infiltrated your company from the beginning. The attack on you was supposed to give them access to your tech patents and financial networks." Morrison pulled up surveillance footage on her laptop. This was taken yesterday at a private airfield in Montana. Vanessa Sterling stepped out of a black SUV, very much alive and free. She looked directly at the camera and smiled. Vanessa Sterling returned with 4 professional assassins on a moonless Thursday night. Her plan was simple: plant explosives throughout the Thornfield estate and eliminate everyone inside. No witnesses, no evidence. But Wrench noticed something during his patrol 2 nights earlier. The same dark sedan passing the property 3 times. Different drivers, but the same vehicle pattern. "Someone's doing reconnaissance," he told Dante. "They set a trap." Harrison and Emma were quietly evacuated to the clubhouse 20 miles away. The mansion's lights stayed on timers, making it look occupied. Dante positioned his 10 bikers throughout the property, each with night vision equipment. The FBI placed 20 agents in the surrounding woods. At 2:47 a.m., Vanessa's team cut through the back fence. They made it exactly 30 feet before floodlights erupted everywhere. "FBI, drop your weapons." The lead assassin tried to run. Tank tackled him into the koi pond. The second reached for his gun. Reaper's fist connected with his jaw before he could draw. The third and fourth surrendered immediately, when they saw the sheer number of people surrounding them. Vanessa Sterling stood frozen, her perfectly manicured hands raised in the air. Agent Morrison walked up to her slowly. "Vanessa Sterling, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, wire fraud, and about 47 other charges." Vanessa's cold smile never faltered. "My lawyers will have me out in 24 hours. "Your organization collapsed 3 hours ago," Morrison said. "Interpol arrested 63 people across 12 countries. Your lawyer is among them." The smile finally broke. Vanessa Sterling received 45 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole. Life slowly returned to normal, but nothing was the same. Harrison rebuilt his company from the ground up. This time he focused on character instead of credentials. Background checks went deeper. Trust was earned, not assumed. Emma returned to school 2 months later. On her first day back, 12 Harleys escorted the bus. Parents stared. Emma waved from the window, grinning. One evening, Harrison found Dante on the back terrace watching the sunset. "I've been thinking about something," Harrison said, sitting down. "For 52 years, I judged people by their bank accounts and their last names. I hired security based on their military records and their fees, not their hearts." "You couldn't have known," Dante replied. "But Emma knew." Harrison's voice cracked. "An 8-year-old child saw something in you that I would have missed completely. She didn't run to the police. She didn't call 911. She ran to 10 men in leather who society tells us to fear. 3 weeks later, something happened that changed everything again. Emma was in the garage with Maverick, learning about motorcycle engines. He was showing her the battery when he accidentally touched live wires. The shock threw him backward, unconscious. Emma didn't scream. She didn't freeze. She remembered everything Reaper had taught her. She kicked the power switch off, checked for breathing, tilted his head back, started chest compressions exactly as she'd practiced on the training dummy. Maverick coughed, gasping for air. As Dante rushed in. "You saved him," Dante whispered, pulling Emma into his arms. Tears streamed down his face. "You learned, pequeña heroína. You actually learned." Emma hugged him tight. "Just like you taught me. Heroes help heroes." 1 year after the rescue, Harrison Thornfield stood in his office, but it looked nothing like before. Gone were the cold marble and expensive art. Now it held photos of Emma with the Iron Guardians, drawings she'd made, a chessboard Tank had given her. He'd donated $50 million to community programs across the state. Homeless shelters, veterans assistance, youth mentorship programs. 5 members of the Iron Guardians now worked for Thornfield Industries in various roles. Tank in physical security, Bones in community outreach, Wrench in facility maintenance. All paid 6-figure salaries. The company had launched new security software, developed with direct consultation from the motorcycle club. It was already being used by 300 corporations nationwide. Emma, now 9 years old, had started a fundraising program at her school. Pennies for the clubhouse, she called it. In 8 months, she'd raised $12,000 for Iron Guardians community initiatives. The club had expanded their programs with the new resources: weekly food drives, motorcycle safety classes for teens, a scholarship fund for children of fallen veterans. At Sunday dinner, Harrison raised his glass. Emma, Dante, and 15 other club members sat around the massive dining table. "A year ago, I thought I knew everything about the world," Harrison said. "I thought money bought safety. I thought status determined worth. I thought people in suits were automatically trustworthy, and people in leather were automatically dangerous." He looked at Dante. "My daughter taught me I was wrong about everything." Emma smiled. "Heroes come in all kinds of jackets, Daddy." 18 months after the rescue, Harrison organized something unprecedented. Celebration of True Valor filled the Riverside Convention Center with 1,000 people. Media crews, local officials, families from across the state who'd been helped by Iron Guardians programs. But the centerpiece stood covered in the main hall, hidden beneath a massive black cloth. Emma, now 9.5, wore a blue dress and her butterfly necklace. She stood between Harrison and Dante as Mayor Collins gave the opening speech. "Today, we honor ordinary men who did extraordinary things," the mayor said. "Not because it was easy, not because it was profitable, but because it was right." Harrison took the microphone. His hands trembled slightly. "For 52 years, I believed in lies. I believed money bought security. I believed status determined worth. I believed appearances revealed character." His voice grew stronger. "Then my daughter ran 5 miles on bleeding feet and chose 10 men the world told her to fear. And those 10 men proved that everything I believed was wrong." He pulled the cloth. The bronze sculpture stood 12 feet tall, Emma running, arms outstretched, toward 10 bikers on motorcycles. Every detail perfect. The terror on her face, the determination in theirs. The moment everything changed. Emma stepped forward to speak. At 9 years old, her voice carried across the silent hall. "My daddy says I'm brave because I ran for help, but I wasn't brave. I was scared." She looked at the Iron Guardians standing in formation. They were brave. They didn't know if those bad men had guns. They didn't know if they'd get hurt. But they came anyway because I asked them to. Emma continued, her small voice filling the massive hall with unexpected power. "Heroes don't choose who to save based on money or what neighborhood they live in. Heroes save people because it's the right thing to do. And that's what makes them heroes." The crowd erupted in applause. Dante wiped his eyes, not caring who saw. Harrison returned to the microphone. "There's one more announcement." He pulled out an envelope, his hands steady now. "Today, I'm establishing the Thornfield Iron Guardians Foundation with an initial endowment of $500 million. Gasps rippled through the audience. This foundation will support motorcycle clubs engaged in community service, veteran assistance programs, and civilian rescue training across America. Because if an 8-year-old girl could see the value in these men that our society overlooks, then society needs to open its eyes. He turned to face the Iron Guardians directly. You saved my life, but more importantly, you taught me how to live it. You showed me that character isn't bought, it's built. That honor isn't inherited, it's earned. That heroes don't wear suits and work in boardrooms. Sometimes they wear leather and ride Harleys. Emma walked to Dante and took his hand. Thank you for teaching me that heroes aren't the people everyone expects. They're the people who show up when everyone else looks away. Dante knelt down, eye level with her. You taught us something too, Pequeña. You taught us that one person's faith in us matters more than the whole world's doubt. The ceremony ended with Emma unveiling individual plaques for each Iron Guardian. As cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions, the 10 bikers quietly slipped toward the exit. Where are you going? A reporter called. Don't you want to be interviewed? Tank turned back, smiling. We've got a community barbecue to set up. Single mothers and their kids are counting on us. They walked out into the afternoon sun, their motorcycles lined up and waiting. Emma ran after them, hugging each one. See you Saturday? She asked. Wouldn't miss it, Dante replied. As the Harleys roared to life and disappeared down the road, Harrison stood with his arm around his daughter, watching them go. They weren't riding off into glory or fame. They were riding back to who they'd always been. Ordinary men doing extraordinary things because someone needed help. And that, Harrison finally understood, was the truest form of heroism. The kind that doesn't seek recognition. The kind that just shows up. The kind his daughter had always seen in them, even when the rest of the world was blind.